Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
The fantasy is that this sentence is anything more than just purely punitive and completely beyond the range of what drug offenders get in this district, in this circuit, in this country.
I know if Ross walked out of that prison tomorrow, they would never, law enforcement would never hear from him again. In fact, he would probably go on to make some contributions to society, to the community. That part is done. Rehabilitation is done. But this is about punishment and making him an example.
Hi, I'm Kurt Loder with Reason TV. That was Lynn Ulbricht, the mother of Ross Ulbricht, the convicted operator of the Silk Road drug marketplace. Ross Ulbricht was just sentenced to life in prison without parole and fined more than $183 million. Ross's story and the story of Silk Road are the focus of a new documentary called Deep Web, which was written and directed by Alex Winter. We talked to him a little earlier today. So I think there are a lot of people that probably would like to see Ross Ulbricht roast in hell for being a drug dealer, but I think what he was doing was like a radical free market experiment to take danger out of drug transactions. How do you see him?
There's like 5 or 6 completely opposing ideas of who this guy actually is, and that's sort of what the movie's about. There are absolute ideals behind the Silk Road that are just woven into it, not only from the Judd Pirate Roberts who ran the Silk Road, but from the other primary vendors and architects and moderators of the Silk Road who were very anti-drug war, very technologically agile, and really believed that technology could change policy, kind of the law be damned. Like it was similar to the sort of Napster mentality, which was, sure, this is beyond the scope of current law, but current law needs to catch up with us, not the other way around, because things need to change. And once you get into drug policy, obviously the implications are much more grave, but also I would say that, you know, the stakes are higher on the other side. There may be a greater need to change that.
One of the most disturbing aspects of the case, I think, is how did the FBI get access to the Silk Road servers in Iceland? It looks like they just hacked their way in. I mean, what do you think?
I think that no matter what the truth turns out to be, maybe it's 100% above board. But the fact remains that we don't have an answer that's satisfactory. And the reason that that's a problem is that obviously laws need to be reformed to handle the digital age. Obviously, search and seizure laws, we saw that with Riley versus California with the Supreme Court and search and seizure on a cell phone. Your digital life, your privacy online matters a great deal. This idea that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear is just, it's absurd, frankly. Of course you have something to hide. You don't want people, you know, spreading your medical records around, your children's photographs. I mean, privacy is an inherent part of being a human being. So how law enforcement is allowed to surveil, how the government's allowed to surveil, how law enforcement is allowed to search and seize American property, these are issues that are very important, and reform needs to happen.
What has this done to Ross's parents, Lynn and Kirk?
Well, it's cost them a fortune that they don't have. There's a way to look at this entire story with compassion, no matter what you think happened, right? And that's kind of the way I've come at it with the film. With Ross, I don't know Ross, so I have to look at him more with compassion than, say, sympathy, because I don't have enough information. But you can look at it with compassion. It is, no matter how you fall on the story, an immense tragedy. I mean, it is, I think, one of the great tragedies of the digital age. And, you know, what it's doing to this family, I mean, it's destroying, you know, I would argue that they are very strong, thankfully, and they would argue they are not being destroyed, but it is certainly an enormously traumatic, continuing experience for that family on a financial and an emotional level. So, you know, it's an immense tragedy. There's no way to look at it in any other way.
We caught up with Alex again after the verdict came down.
It was really an extraordinary experience, and to watch, you know, watch him get life. You know, again, I don't know Ross at all, but it was really an emotional thing to witness.
What did he say in the court?
He apologized for his actions, and you know, it was extremely emotional to watch. It was the first time we'd heard him talk. I mean, he said the essence of his letter. There was no new information that came out today, but to watch human beings in the grip of this was pretty overwhelming emotionally.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Alex's documentary, Deep Web, will be airing on the Epix channel at 8 p.m. this Sunday. And for more on this story, log on to reason.com.
Ross Ulbricht takes fight to Supreme Court to appeal life sentence for building a website. Silk Road creator Ross Ulbricht has one final chance at freedom, and that is getting the Supreme Court to look at the evidence in his case. By the Free Thought Project, January 10, 2018. By Aaron Kessel. Imprisoned Silk Road creator, Ross Ulbricht, has one last chance at reducing his sentence with an appeal to the Supreme Court. After that, his options in court for appealing his double life sentence, for victimless crimes, will be extinguished. Ross Ulbricht was arrested in 2013 for running the infamous darknet marketplace Silk Road. Ross admitted in trial that he helped create the site but denies that he was the only Dread Pirate Roberts, DPR, admin of Silk Road. Ross claims he sold the website and stated he was set up as the ultimate fall guy. In fact, Ross Ulbricht's defense team revealed in 2016, that 1 month after Ulbricht's arrest, October 1, on November 18, 2013, someone logged into Dread Pirate Roberts' account on the Silk Road forum. The team has also disclosed that evidence tampering may have taken place. These facts were documented in a discovery letter, Bitcoin Magazine reported. We have recently learned that someone using the Dread Pirate Roberts account logged into the Silk Road forum nearly 7 weeks after Ross was arrested. A record of this was buried deep within the 5 to 6 terabytes the government produced in the discovery. The evidence shows that the last login by DPR was made November 18, 2013, 4 days before the Silk Road forum was taken offline on November 22, 2013. Ross Ulbricht was arrested on October 1, 2013, and has been in custody ever since. Lynn says that the recently uncovered evidence is mentioned in the demand for additional discovery that was sent to the AUSA in Maryland. There is a record in the database for every account, showing the most recent login. We don't know when that person or persons originally gained access, or how many times they logged into Silk Road as DPR. We don't know how many DPRs there were. What we now know from the discovery evidence provided by the government is that the last time someone using the DPR account logged into the Silk Road forum was November 18, 2013, when Ross Ulbricht had been in prison for nearly 7 weeks. She continues. Joshua Drattel, Ross' lawyer, said a long time ago that we only know the tip of the iceberg regarding the corruption in this case. This week we have seen another big chunk of ice revealed, evidence tampering and apparently at least one additional DPR. If this backup of the forum database had not been saved or discovered, if logins made by DPR after Ross' arrest were not found, no one would be the wiser. This begs the question, how much more is there? Unfortunately we may never know, as it's the nature of digital evidence that it's easily changed, planted, or deleted without a trace. That my son or anyone would get a life sentence without parole based on vulnerable digital evidence, especially when it's been corrupted, puts us all in peril. The guy who concocted DPR and mentored Ulbricht, according to Wired, was someone who called himself Variety Jones, and later, Simon. Advertisement. Read more, he had his F-King hands in the air. New footage shows Ferguson witnesses reacting to teen's death. A federal judge, U.S. District Judge Kathleen Forrest, sentenced Ross Ulbricht to life in prison without parole in 2015. It also came out that there was government corruption in the case that the jury was not allowed to know about during the trial. Federal agents Carl Mark Forsfor and Sean Bridges, who were involved in the Silk Road investigation, used their position to steal and extort millions of dollars in Bitcoin for the website and its users. Due to this corruption, Ulbricht's lawyers subsequently filed for a retrial motion on March 6, 2015. On appeal last year, Ulbricht had argued that the evidence gathered with 5 warrantless pen/trap orders allowed the government to monitor IP addresses associated with traffic to and from Ulbricht's home router, which ultimately violated his Fourth Amendment rights. That retrial appeal was denied by the courts last year, with the decision being upheld by a panel of 3 judges. Citing the 1979 Smith v. Maryland case which allowed investigators to gather dialed phone numbers without a warrant, the panel of judges said that IP addresses were similar to phone numbers. His defense called for a re-evaluation of the third-party disclosure doctrine established by Smith. but the judges were bound by it until and unless it is overruled by the Supreme Court, Circuit Judge Gerard Lynch wrote on behalf of the three-judge panel. The Supreme Court will be weighing in on these issues and more in the case, as reported by Reason. Canon K. Shanmugam, the lawyer managing the appeal, summed up the legal issues that require settling by the Supreme Court in a December memo to potential amici in the case. Even those who might never dream of launching a dark website facilitating possibly illegal substance sales should be very worried about how the government convicted and sentenced Ulbricht, he explains. This case presents two important questions of constitutional law with broader significance for the rights of criminal defendants generally. First, the Second Circuit affirmed the government's warrantless collection of Mr. Ulbricht's internet traffic information by relying on the third-party doctrine, which the court is reviewing in a different context this term in Carpenter v. United States. This case would afford the court an ideal opportunity to address how the doctrine applies to internet traffic information. Lynn Ulbricht told Activist Post in an email to this writer that this is one of the most important cases of our time, and this is more than just about Ross, this is about our digital rights. Further, isn't U.S. law supposed to prevent cruel and unusual punishment? You wouldn't know that was the case with the fact that the judge bypassed a jury and enhanced Ulbricht's sentencing with unproven allegations that were never brought to trial. The Ross Ulbricht case will set a precedent for the Fourth and Sixth Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. As Lynn stated to Activist Post, Ross' petition to the Supreme Court presents important constitutional questions that have broad significance, not only for the rights of criminal defendants but for us all. Can the government legally collect our internet traffic without a warrant? Does a judge have the right to bypass a jury and enhance an unreasonable sentence with unproven allegations never brought to trial? The ultimate question here is whether the Fourth and Sixth Amendments are still viable, and we should all be concerned about how the court answers. We completely agree, this is about liberty and digital rights, and limiting government overreach. Read more. Video shows police officers protecting and serving a computer science student to death. Ulbricht is also appealing the obscene length of his sentence at the Supreme Court. Second, the Second Circuit affirmed the sentencing court's determination of facts never submitted to the jury, which significantly altered the guidelines range and ultimately led the court to impose a life sentence, a sentence the Second Circuit admitted condemns a young man to die in prison. Several justices have previously questioned whether this kind of judicial fact-finding violates the Sixth Amendment. For both these reasons, this case warrants Supreme Court review. To end with a quote, "This case is the birth of law as applied to our digital future. Watch it as a spectator at your peril." Scott H. Greenfield, attorney. Aaron Kessel writes for Activist Post, where this article first appeared. Support us at Patreon. Follow them on Facebook, Twitter,
County. This is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Sheriff County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But you know, do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, you know, at least I can do it. You know, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, you know, if I got, you know, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now. You know, $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.